Hi. Today I'm going to show you how to use artboards in Adobe Illustrator. At first you might think, I really don't need to use artboards, but they're quite useful, especially if you're working on say, multimedia ads and you want various sizes. It can be very useful. But there are also a few caveats that you can run into that it's not critical, but it can throw you off. Anyway, I'm going to get started here. I'm going to open up a new file. I'm here in Adobe Illustrator, and I believe this is version 2024 and new file. And from here, I am going to go to web to choose, and I can create whatever size that I want, but I'm just going to go with web, this medium size web right here. I'm going to click OK, and you can see I can give it a name, and I'm just going to call this Artboards Practice and hit enter. Okay, so if I zoom out, you can see here is my artboard. This is my workspace, and there's the artboard right here. One quick thing I want to show you is if I have a photo here on my desktop, and I'm just going to drop it in here. And this is something that I often have students confused about. I just dragged and dropped the photo. I'm on a Mac, but it should be similar on very similar on a PC. But you can see here's the image. And if I'm working, they're going, what is this box here? I can't, if I try to click on it, I can't get it to move. And then I'm going to lock this, and I still can't select this line to get rid of it. And what that line is that's my artboard. So this photo is just gargantuan. And I can easily just scale that, scale it down to size and fit it into the artboard. All right, that's the first thing that I wanted to show you. Some of the other things come from when you began to export the file, but here I'm going to show you how you can make multiple artboards. So right here is my artboard tool. Okay, now when I click on that artboard tool, you can see it shows this is artboard number 1. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I am on the workspace I'm on. If I go to Windows, Workspace, I like to use Essentials Classic as opposed to Essentials, because Essentials you lose you lose that options bar up top. So I'm going to go to Essentials Classic, and again, that's sort of the old way. For the most part, everything you will be getting here in the options bar will be redundant over here in the properties panel. But I'm just used to using this, and I have a large screen, so it doesn't matter. So if I ever show you something up here, as long as you have the correct tool selected, you should be able to see it here in the properties panel. So try to make sure your properties panel stays open. All right, so if I want to create a new artboard, I can, again, I'm going to click on the artboard tool, and you'll see my properties panel changes, and the options bar up here changes. Okay, and right here you can see there's a plus symbol. If I want to add a new artboard, I can just hit that plus symbol, and the same thing over here, new artboard. Okay, so what I'm going to do from here is I want to change the size of these. I can, and again, I can do this in the properties panel or the options bar. So I'm going to click here, and I want to change the size of artboard number 2. So up here you can see here is the height, and here is the width. Okay, the width is usually listed first, so this is 1280 by 1042. So say I want to change this to, say, 500 and hit enter. You see it changes the height of that. And if I click over here, I'm going to change this one. Let's make this 500. The height and the width also 500. And it's that easy. Okay, so I'm going to click here. Well, actually, I'll need to stay on the artboard tool because I want to move these over. So another thing I want to show you, okay, that's the artboard tool. And here you'll find the artboard panel. I can also access that from the window, come down to here, artboards, and it opens up here. So if you don't see it, just check your window. Maybe you closed it or something. So I'm going to tear it off of here just so it stays open. And from here, I can change the names of the artboard. So right here, you see artboard 1. It says artboard 1, but I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to call this square. And then artboard 2, I'm going to leave a 1 after that, just so we'll keep that order. And this one I'm going to call circle. Circle 2. And this one I'm going to call star 3. Okay, so we still have the order 1, 2, 3, because that's something that's is important to know. All right, so what I'm going to do now is show you if I put a square here. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, put a square. Now I'm going to make a circle using the ellipse tool. And now I am going to make a star. And from here, I'm going to export these. So I'm going to go File, Export. And usually when you export these, you want to export them, so since we're going to be exporting these for the web, I'm going to go Export and choose PNG. Okay, and now right now you see it says right here use artboards. I'm not going to check that because I want you to see what happens. I'm going to export that without saving the export and without saving the artboards. And you can see I have medium resolution, medium resolution. These are low resolution, and this one is high resolution. I'm going to leave it on medium resolution. But you can already see what's going to happen here. You see, when I export this, it's not going to export these as separate items. It's going to export this as a single object. And that's why you want to use the artboards. But I'm going to go ahead and export it. Okay? Now, if I come here, you'll see it opens up. And that's what we got. All right, so now I'm going to export this. I'm going to export this same file, and we're going to save it as export it as artboards. So File, Export, Export As is going to be PNG. Pay attention to where it's going. And right here it says Use Artboards, and I'm going to click that button. It defaults to all. I can choose a range if I want, but I'm going to just hit export. Again, artboards is selected, export. And watch up here, you'll see the desktop where it changes. Actually, I'm going to hit cancel because I need to change the name. And I'm going to hit V2 on this one. Okay, now I'm going to hit export, and you'll just see them propagate up here. There we go. Export. Oh, I have to pick this one. And you can see I'm going to go with the medium. I'm just going to stick with the same settings as before. And you can see this is how it's going to export it. It's going to have this nice large background. And you can see that's this one. It's not giving me a display of the other ones, but I'm going to get multiple copies. Okay, I'm going to get the square, the circle, and the star, but it's giving me a preview of the square. As far as I know, there's no way to toggle through this. All right, and I can change the background to black, or I can change it to transparent. But I'm going to leave it at white. We'll talk about the transparency later. And I'm going to hit OK. Here we go. And you see there's the circle, the square, and the star. And that's by using artboards. And it creates that document the same size as the artboard, whereas if I turn artboards off, it's constrained by the shape of the images. So if I click here on the rectangle tool, this is just to demonstrate, it's going to make it, well, actually I don't even need to do that. It's going to make it so it fits like that. Okay? All right, so now what I want to do is export this, and I want to show you how transparency can make a difference. So I'm going to hit, actually, I need to go to the move tool, go to the square, get rid of that, get rid of the star. Now here, if I export it with without the artboard, you'll notice it is going to just give me the circle. Okay, so since there's nothing here, it's not going to give me, it's not going to extend out like that. So if I go File, Export, Export As, and I don't choose Artboards, I'm going to call this dash circle. I'm going to hit Enter. And you can see it clings to the size of this box. Okay, and I'm sticking with the medium resolution. I'm going to hit OK. And you can see there it is. So if I select it, that's what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to export this and use Artboards. So I'm going to go File, Export, Export As, and I'm going to call this Circle again. Circle, and since I'm going to put AB for Artboard. Okay, and I'm going to check Artboards, use Artboards, and export. And you can see what's happening now is it's exporting this with these blank artboards. Actually, it shouldn't, but let's see what happens. Okay. Okay, no, it exported it with the blank artboards. What I expected it to do was tell me that it won't export with blank artboards, but you can see there's that one. Okay. Let me try this with zero, with nothing here. Now I'm going to try this again. File, Export As, and use Artboards. And I'm going to just hit a couple of spaces and export. Okay, so it just exported the empty artboards. All right, so actually threw me is if I have this document here and I go File, Export, Export As, and I use Artboards. Let me put just a random number here. Export. It will export these and each of these artboards individually. But if I do that exact same thing, File, Export As, again, there's nothing in this document, and I don't use artboards, it says unable to save an empty document. All right, so now I'm going to hit undo to bring that circle back. And what I'm going to do here is export this as a transparency. So if I export this, actually, let me get rid of these other artboards just to keep it simpler. So if and I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here too. Move that to trash. Okay, so from here, if I export this, oops, actually, I wanted that one. Actually, I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna hit undo. I want to keep that one because that has the white background. Move to trash, move that up in place. Okay, so now I'm gonna export this as a transparency. File, export with a transparent background. Export as, and I'm gonna put dash and T for transparency. Well, let's put dash AB for artboard. And I'm going to hit use artboards. Okay? And now I'm going to hit export. I'm going to change that from white to transparent. And you see I get that checkerboard pattern that's telling me that this is a transparent background. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, this is actually one of those situations. So actually, let me open that up. So you can see it's kind of transparent. This one is solid white. All right. So if I grab that and drop it here, there's that. Now, if I want just that floating circle, I have the transparent background. But one thing to be careful of is you have this circle right here and all this wasted space. This is just wasting memory. And this is just increasing your file size needlessly. So in this situation, let me get rid of these first. What I would do is export this without the artboards. Okay, so that's when I would go export as, and if I use the transparent background, whoops, I don't want to use the artboards, and I'll click, put space, T for transparency, no AB, and let's see what we get. Okay, so you can see what it looks like. So now it's clinging to the size. So we have that one, and that one. So hopefully you can see why when you want to export it without artboards and when you want to export it with artboards. All right, so I'm going to delete those. There's one more thing, and if I save this as a PNG, not a PNG, a PDF, it's the artboard, the order here is going to matter. Okay, so say if I export this as, or save it as, so if I export, I can't export it as a PDF. Okay, I have to save, I'm going to save a copy as to get to PDF, and then from here I can choose PDF. Okay, and from here you see use artboards is grayed out, and I'm just going to hit save. Okay, and I'm just gonna, whatever the default is, leave it. Okay, so you can see there it is, and I'm gonna double click and open it, and I'm gonna view the pages here. So there's the square, circle, and the star. Okay, that's the order. Now I'm gonna rearrange these. I'm gonna go to my artboard tool. I'm gonna move that up, move this one over, the star, move that over here, and now I'm gonna do that again. I am going to save a copy, save a copy, and this one I'm going to put 2, and make sure that's a PDF, and save, and leave whatever the default is. Okay, so now here's the other one. I'm going to double click to open this up, and you would expect the order to be changed, but it's not. Okay, so hang on. There we go. So it's square, circle, star. Okay, this is one of those things that at some point confused me. It was like, I can't rearrange these and reorder them. So if you have a lot of things and you want them to, reorder, or if you're printing them out and you want it to print in a particular way, what you need to do is to reorder them here from the artboard tool. Okay, I mean from the artboard panel, not rearranging the artboards as they sit here. Okay, so if I want the square to be last, I can click here, I can click and drag it down to the bottom, or I can click on this little button right here to move down. Now you see the squares at the bottom, so we'll go circle, star, square. All right, but you still see here, didn't move here. So it can be a little confusing. But now if I go File, Save a Copy, and I'm going to call this copy 3, make sure I change that to a PDF, and enter, and whatever the default is. There we go. Now you can see the circles at the front. So I'm going to double click to open it, and you can see it's circle, star, and the square. That's the order, and that's the order that you see in the artboard panel, not what you see visually here the way they're arranged. Okay, so that's important. There's a couple more things that I want to show you. So if I want to rearrange these on my artboard the way they're laid out here, I can do that. I can do that here. Here's the artboard options, and it's also up here is the artboard options. Okay, same thing. This icon is the same as that. Okay, so here I can change the size of my artboard. So say I'm on the square, I can just change this to, let's make that 1280. No, let's make this 1080 instead of 1280, the width. 1080. Whoops, I didn't mean to close that, but you can see it changed the size. Let me open that back up. I can change the orientation, the display, center mark, crosshairs, show video safe area. I think that's self-explanatory. Okay, so I can rename it here, all right? But I'm going to hit OK. Another thing that I want to show you, it says I can rearrange the artboards here, all right? I can also get to the artboard options by double-clicking on the tool, on the artboard tool. Okay, so if I want to rearrange these, I can click right here, and I can rearrange the artboards. Okay, so right now you can see they're going straight across. If I click this one, the layout order, I can click and make them go down. I'm going to hit Tab. Okay, Now I'm going to open that up again, and you can see the spacing is 20 pixels. I'm going to make that 50. Well, let's make it 100, and I'm going to hit OK. All right. So those are some of the things that you can do to help keep everything tidy. Another thing is right here, you see it says move artwork with the artboard. If that is unchecked, okay, I'll click on the artboard, right, and you see if I move it, it's moving. I thought I unchecked that. Let me see. Rearrange, move art with artboard. Okay. It's moving the art with the artboard, but it's unchecked. Now let me click here, hit OK, and it's still moving. Let me click away. Let me do this again. Go back to the artboard tool. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Uncheck move art with artboard. I'm going to click away. Now I'm going to go back to the artboard tool and click, and it's still moving. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I can also see here it says move copy artwork. Let's see. Okay, maybe this overrid it, this button up here in the options bar. Let's just leave that off. And now let's try this. I'll put that back. Now I'll go rearrange and move artwork with artboard. Let me get off of the artboard tool. Now let's go back to the artboard tool. Move artwork with artboard. Okay, I'm not sure why this is acting up. Maybe this overrides it. I'll have to look into that. All right, so one other thing I want to show you is you can create new artboards. If I'm on the artboard tool, I'm going to click here, and I can just click and drag out new artboards. Okay. One thing you want to be careful of is if I'm on the artboard tool, if I click outside, I can drag another artboard on top of the other artboard. Rarely do I want that, if ever. So just be careful with that. And if you draw, like if I drag this artboard here, if I go to move this artboard, let me see. Okay, so it's not moving the artboard. So I'm going to click this button here so it moves the art with the artboard tool. So if I move that, you see it moves. And if I move this one, it's going to take it. Okay, so one way around that is unchecking that button or locking this down. I can go Object, Lock, Selection. And then if I go back to the artboard tool, you know, it's telling me hidden objects are locked and they won't move. Okay, so now if I move this one, it's not going to move. Okay, but at least it's telling me that that's the reason. So if I unlock it, I use the key commands to do that. Now I can click on that and move it. All right, I'm going to uncheck that. Let's see if this will work. And yeah, so it's leaving the artwork behind. I'm not sure. Move artwork with artboard. I'll need to look into this. I don't know why this isn't working. Maybe this just overrides it. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about with the artboards. Okay, and that's it. Ciao.